Tonight, something is calling you. You don't know why or how you ended up here, but you feel it. A quiet pull behind your thoughts, like a door slightly open in the dark. You hear 4 numbers: 3, 8, 1, 4. At first, they seem meaningless, but the moment you hear them, something stirs inside you. A memory that isn't a memory, a whisper of wealth, freedom, and unseen order. You have heard of Neville Goddard before, the man who said that imagination creates reality. But what if imagination could be coded? What if there were sequences, combinations that spoke directly to the subconscious in its own language? That's what this night is about. Not another technique, not a new trend, but a code, 3814, that rearranges how your mind receives abundance. You don't have to believe it yet. Just listen. Let the sound of the words move through you as the light fades. Because tonight, you will plant something in the soil of sleep. Close your eyes for a moment. Notice how your breathing changes when you imagine wealth flowing toward you. Not from effort, not from force, but from awareness. Your heartbeat follows the rhythm of your belief, and belief is all creation ever needed. You were never separate from money. It was never out there. It has always been responding to your state. Your consciousness is the magnet. Your feeling is the field. Neville called it the law of assumption. But hidden beneath his words were keys, sequences of vibration that connect directly to the creative core. 3814 was one of them. A code that, when written and felt before sleep, aligns you with the reality where abundance is already true. You don't activate it by chanting, you activate it by feeling it, by allowing your imagination to breathe the numbers into being. 3, the triangle of creation. 8, the flow of infinite supply. 1, the spark of identity. I am. 4, the solid world taking form. Each number, a step in the silent dance between thought and manifestation. Together, they open a channel, not to the universe, but to your own deeper self. In a few minutes, you'll learn how to perform the ritual. A 3-minute practice before sleep that turns your subconscious into a conductor of wealth. But first, you need to understand what you're touching. This isn't superstition. It's structure. Everything in existence, language, time, even emotion, follows pattern. And when you consciously repeat a pattern charged with intention, you awaken the pattern maker. So tonight, before your head rests on the pillow, you will write it down. 3, 8, 1, 4, not as digits, but as symbols, each one an opening, each one a reflection of you. And when you do, the numbers will not stay on the page. They will move inward, downward, into the roots of consciousness. And as you fall asleep, they will begin to rewrite what you believe about money, about self-worth, about reality itself. So let the idea sink in. You're about to remember something ancient, something that was never really lost. It waited until you were quiet enough to hear it. When the mind becomes still, when the last thought dissolves, that's when creation begins. Welcome to the night of 3814. The night you remember that every number, every breath, every dream is already yours. You turn down the volume of the outer world and let the room fall into silence. In that quiet, the voice of Neville Goddard begins to rise, not from speakers, but from somewhere deeper, a corridor inside your own mind. Neville never asked you to chase miracles. He asked you to remember who was dreaming. Every sentence he ever spoke pointed to the same discovery: consciousness is the only reality. Everything else, money, people, success, failure, is the shadow your inner state throws upon the wall of the world. When you first hear that, it sounds poetic. Later, it starts to sound dangerous, because if it is true, then nothing and no one is to blame. Not destiny, not luck. Only you, the imaginer. You close your eyes, You picture Neville speaking in that calm, unwavering tone. Man is all imagination and God is man, and exists in us and we in him. He never said this to impress anyone. He said it because he had seen it. And in that seeing, the old game of waiting ended. You begin to sense that 38-4 is not about digits at all. It is a pattern, a rhythm that mirrors the stages of creation. The 3 reminds you of the trinity of manifestation, thought, feeling, embodiment. The 8 stretches sideways, becoming the symbol of infinity, the eternal loop between inner and outer. The 1 whispers of identity, the I am, that begins every sentence of power, and the 4 grounds it all in the material plane, the completed world, the stable form. When these ideas merge, you see what Neville meant by assumption. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is to move from 3 to 8, from creation to flow. To recognize yourself as the source is to stand in the one. And to witness its reflection in life is to dwell in the 4. You start noticing how every transformation you've ever lived followed that invisible geometry. First came a thought, then an emotion wrapped around it, then an identification. I am this now. Finally, the evidence appeared, solid and ordinary, but born of the unseen. That is 38-14, breathing quietly through your story. Neville taught through stories because stories bypass resistance. They slip under logic and speak directly to the imagination. He wanted you to feel truth, not analyze it. So as you listen now, you don't try to decode the numbers. You let them dissolve into meaning. They become steps on a staircase leading inward. In that inward climb, you discover something startling. Your subconscious was never a servant waiting for orders. It was the creative field itself. Every mood you sustain, every scene you replay before sleep is a seed. And the world outside, only the harvest. You realize that abundance was never missing. It was mirrored imperfectly because the image within was blurred. When the inner image clears, the mirror must obey. That is law, not superstition, but structure. Now as you breathe, you feel an almost electric calm. It is the space Neville lived from, the still certainty that imagination and reality are one continuous fabric. Touch one thread, and the whole design moves. The enigma of Neville is not that he possessed secret knowledge. It is that he believed what most people only recite. He trusted imagination the way others trust gravity, and so reality obeyed him naturally, without strain. You sit quietly, letting that truth settle into your own awareness. If the world is imagination made visible, then to change any condition, you must change the imaginer. You don't beg the universe. You become the new state inwardly until the universe has no choice but to echo it. That is the message behind every lecture, every story, every number. 38-14 is simply a symbol, a reminder that creation follows order and that order begins in you. You open your eyes. The room hasn't changed, but you have. You can feel the pattern humming behind everything, the silent mathematics of consciousness. And for the first time, you sense that wealth, like breath, was never earned. It was only remembered. You sit quietly, the echo of the first chapter still pulsing in your mind. The numbers remain before you. 3, 8, 1, 4. Simple shapes of ink on a page. Yet the longer you look, the more alive they begin to feel. They are not promises, not spells. They are mirrors. Each one reflects a movement inside you, a stage in the architecture of creation. You start with 3. The moment you imagine, 3 forces awaken within you. The first is thought, the picture you hold. The second is emotion, the energy that colors it. The third is embodiment, the quiet decision to act as if it were already true. Every dream you've ever touched was built on that trinity. 3 is the spark that turns possibility into pattern. Then comes 8. If you trace it sideways, it becomes infinity, a flowing loop without beginning or end. 8 is the rhythm of exchange, giving and receiving, inhaling and exhaling, allowing and releasing. When you live from 8, you stop clutching. You circulate. Wealth, love, opportunity, all of it moves through you instead of to you. You realize abundance is not possession, it's participation. Next is one. One is silence. One is identity. It asks, who imagines all this? Every creation begins the moment you answer, I am. That statement doesn't describe the outer person, it names the awareness behind every experience. When you rest in one, you remember that nothing real is separate from consciousness. Every outcome you seek already exists within that single point of awareness. And finally, there is 4. 4 is the square, the ground, the completion. It is morning after vision, the house built, the idea given form. Where 3 ignites and 8 circulates and 1 awakens, 4 stabilizes. It is the stage where imagination hardens into event, where what was once invisible begins to cast a shadow in time. You breathe, watching the pattern unfold. 3814 is not a secret code, it is a sequence of remembering, from spark to flow, from identity to manifestation. You notice how this same geometry moves through everything. The seasons, the breath, the heartbeat, creation, expansion, unity, completion. It is the pulse of life itself. As you contemplate, your mind begins to quiet. Numbers stop being numbers. They turn into feelings. 3 feels like warmth behind the eyes. 8 feels like movement in the chest, a wave that doesn't end. 1 feels like the pause between breaths. 4 feels like ground under your feet. Together, they form a single gesture, the body of awareness breathing itself into form. You start to understand why Neville spoke so often of states. A state is simply a pattern of feelings sustained long enough to become fact. The numbers are not instructions. They are reminders of that progression. When you catch yourself worrying, you return to 3, the creative spark. When you feel gratitude, you live in 8, the current of circulation. When you rest in quiet certainty, you stand in 1. And when life mirrors that certainty back to you, you dwell in 4. The realization is disarmingly simple. There is no distance between the invisible and the visible, only rhythm. Change the rhythm and the song of your life shifts. You don't fight the old melody, you hum a new one until the air vibrates differently. The page before you still shows 3814, but now it reads like a sentence in a forgotten language, one that your heart suddenly understands. You see that numbers were humanity's first poetry, a way to speak order into the unknown. And as you read them now, you feel order returning to your own inner world. You close your eyes. A sense of quiet coherence fills you. Everything, from the smallest desire to the largest vision, follows this same sacred arithmetic. 3, imagine. 8, flow. 1, be. 4, become. The code is not outside you. It never was. It is the map of how awareness moves when it remembers its power. And the moment you feel that movement, you are already within the pattern of creation itself. You close your eyes again and listen to the faint hum beneath every thought. That hum is your subconscious. Vast, quiet, constant. It never sleeps, never argues, never questions what you tell it. It only accepts and expresses. You begin to sense how much of your life has been scripted by impressions left there. A careless phrase repeated for years. A feeling of lack you carried since childhood. An image replayed too many nights in a row. All of it became instruction. The outer world merely followed orders written in silence. Neville called this field the fertile soil of creation. He said that whatever seed you plant before sleep will bloom in waking life, not because of magic, but because sleep is the hour of surrender, the moment the conscious guard lowers and the deeper mind takes command. You start to understand why the space between wakefulness and rest feels sacred. It is the doorway between two realities, the seen and the unseen, the story you tell yourself and the story you will soon inhabit. When you lie down at night, the body softens first. Then the mind drifts, half aware, half dreaming. In that in-between, your thoughts thicken into images, and those images become blueprints. You realize that the subconscious doesn't speak English or numbers, it speaks feeling. The stronger the emotion, the louder the command. Fear instructs as powerfully as faith. The difference is direction. As you breathe, you recall how often you've tried to change life through force. New plans, new strategies, endless motion. And yet, nothing altered until your inner atmosphere changed. When you finally felt different, the world shifted without effort. That was the subconscious responding. Now you see 3, 8, 1, 4, not as digits, but as a sequence of descent. The path from conscious intent into subconscious depth. 3 is the thought that forms. 8 is the emotion that charges it. 1 is the acceptance of identity. I am this now. 4 is the solid echo, the event, the manifestation. Every night you repeat that movement, whether you know it or not. You worry, you hope, you imagine, you sleep, and the current carries your dominant mood into form. Tonight you choose to guide that current deliberately. You picture wealth, not as numbers in a bank, but as a sensation of openness, confidence, ease. You let that feeling expand until it fills the room. You tell yourself quietly, this is what it's like to have enough. Then you rest. No pleading, no analysis, only the calm certainty that the seed is planted. The subconscious will not argue. It will rearrange the stage to match the vibration you left behind. People will call it coincidence. You will know it as alignment. You remember Neville's words. Change your conception of yourself, and you will automatically change the world in which you live. He didn't mean pretend. He meant inhabit. To dwell in the state of already having is to give the subconscious its script. The more you practice, the more natural it feels. Worry loses its gravity. You stop trying to control outcomes because you finally trust the mechanism. Creation has always been this simple. Input feeling, output reality. The current beneath thought keeps moving, turning invisible emotion into visible circumstance. All you do is steer gently with awareness. You sit in the dark, breathing, feeling that current flowing through you. It is patient, ancient, mechanical in its precision, yet deeply intimate. It knows only what you impress upon it. And as you grow quiet enough to sense it, you feel both humbled and empowered. You realize that everything you seek is already forming in that unseen workshop below consciousness. The only question is, what are you planting tonight? You smile. The hum continues. It has always been there. The silent engine of your reality, waiting for a new command. You sit on the edge of the bed, the lights dimmed to a faint gold. The world outside has already quieted, but inside, thoughts still ripple. That's all right. Creation begins in ripples. This is your small ritual, no more than 3 minutes long. Not a charm or spell, only a way of speaking clearly to yourself. You begin by slowing the breath. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, each breath a soft eraser across the mind's surface. You take a sheet of paper. On it, you write the 4 numbers, 3, 8, 1, 4, slowly, carefully, as if carving them into memory. As you do, you let the movement become symbolic. The pen scratches, the ink spreads, and your attention gathers into a single point. You're teaching your mind to focus. The first minute is for imagination. You picture a scene that would be true if you already had what you desire. A conversation, a small gesture, an ordinary moment glowing with satisfaction. You don't strain, you drift into it. Feel the warmth of completion, the ease of knowing it's done. Your body responds before your thoughts can. That sensation, That's the language your deeper mind understands. The second minute is for acceptance. You remind yourself quietly, this scene is mine. This state is me. You don't reach toward it. You let it rest inside you like breath. Every time the mind wants to question, you soften the thought and return to feeling. You're not trying to make anything happen. You're allowing what already exists in imagination to become familiar. The third minute is for release. You look once more at the numbers. They're not instructions now. They're a map of the process you just lived. Imagine, flow, be, become. You fold the paper, set it aside, and close your eyes. Let the body sink, let the day dissolve, let the new image drift down into that deep current you felt before. As you lie back, you sense the gentle rhythm of the breath continuing the work. Inhale, the idea. Exhale, the surrender. The body sleeps, the imagination does not. It carries your chosen feeling like a seed to the fertile ground of the subconscious. You remember Neville's voice saying, "Sleep in the assumption of the wish fulfilled." That is all this practice is. 3 minutes of conscious direction before surrender. 3 minutes to set the compass of your inner world. You notice the quiet joy of doing something simple, deliberate. There's no struggle, no proof to demand, just the steady rhythm of intention turning into peace. Soon, the edges of thought blur. The scene you imagined earlier drifts through your mind again, softer this time. Someone smiles. A door opens. You feel the same calm satisfaction you wanted to create. And you let that be the last thing you remember before sleep takes you. You don't chase the result, you let it live. Because everything you impress tonight will begin to organize itself. Not by effort, but by alignment. Tomorrow may look ordinary, yet threads will already be moving. People crossing paths, ideas forming, life quietly matching the image you placed in its depths. As your breathing slows, you sense how every night offers the same chance. To edit the film of your life from the inside out. 3 minutes of awareness are enough to shift the entire script. The page with the numbers lies folded beside you, a small reminder that creation is a rhythm, not a task. Imagine, accept, release, sleep. The world will take care of the rest. You drift in the half-light between waking and rest. The body grows heavy, but the mind remains lit from within. Breath slows, the outer world fades into the background hum of night. Beneath that quiet, something continues to move. You are still imagining, though not with effort. Scenes rise and fall like waves, and the feeling you placed before sleep begins to settle into deeper layers of awareness. This is not magic, it is process. The subconscious does in silence what the waking mind cannot do in noise. As the muscles loosen, the guard of reasoning thought steps aside. Images that once felt distant now feel near, as if they already happened. The heart measures time differently here. It counts by emotion, not by seconds. Every rhythm in the body synchronizes to the mood you carried into sleep. If that mood is gratitude, the system rests in coherence. If it is fear, the body prepares to defend. You begin to see how feeling itself writes the code the body reads. The night becomes a workshop of quiet instructions. Dream fragments rearrange memories, linking what you believe with what you expect. Neural pathways strengthen around repeated feelings. Tomorrow's reflexes are being formed right now. You remember what Neville meant by living in the end. He was not asking you to perform tricks with reality. He was teaching you to occupy a state so completely that the subconscious accepts it as home. Once accepted, it seeks confirmation everywhere. People, events, coincidences, all of them line up to mirror that new residence of thought. You watch these realizations pass through you like slow lightning. Everything alive obeys pattern. Even sleep has its architecture. The numbers you wrote, 3814, describe that same descent. 3, the spark that starts the dream. 8, the circulation of feeling through the body. 1. The identity that claims, this is me. 4. The morning, the world of form responding. Somewhere deep, the subconscious is already reorganizing. It sorts through impressions gathered during the day, discarding what no longer fits, keeping only what matches the tone you now inhabit. To the deeper mind, belief is instruction. What you consistently feel becomes permission for new experiences to enter. You sense this as warmth spreading through the chest, a loosening of effort. It feels like trust, and trust is the bridge between thought and event. You don't need to monitor it, you only need to rest. Creation finishes best in stillness. The hours unfold without your awareness. Dreams weave fragments of memory with symbols of desire. Sometimes they are vivid, sometimes they vanish before dawn, but the effect remains. The body wakes slightly different, as if something invisible has been rearranged. When morning light finally touches the room, you will open your eyes to a world that looks the same but feels altered. Colors seem sharper. Timing feels effortless. People speak words that echo what you imagined the night before. It is not coincidence, it is continuity. The inner state has simply spilled outward. You lie here half awake, realizing that sleep is not escape, it's collaboration. Each night the conscious and subconscious trade places. One rests, the other builds, and when they work in harmony, life stops feeling random. You whisper once more thank you, not to anyone in particular, but to the quiet intelligence that keeps the rhythm. Then you let go completely. The dream takes you. And in that descent, the code, your own pattern of awareness, continues its silent work, shaping the day that is about to begin. Morning light seeps through the curtains, thin and gentle. You stir, unsure for a moment which world you're in. The air feels charged, as if the night left something unfinished, still vibrating. You breathe, and the breath feels new, steady, deliberate, whole. Nothing obvious has changed. The walls, the clock, the street noise, all as they were. And yet, something beneath perception has shifted. It's the quiet recognition that you are not waking into the world. The world is waking inside you. You sit up slowly, replaying the echo of last night's calm. The paper with the numbers lies on the table, edges curled, a small symbol of a conversation you had with yourself. You realize it was never about digits or even about wealth. It was about remembering authorship. The hand that wrote 3814 was the same hand that shapes every moment you live. You notice how easily thoughts want to rush back, lists, plans, habits. But now you know that the outer day only repeats the inner one. So before you move, you pause. You let the same awareness that guided the night lead the morning. 3. Imagine how this day will feel when you move through it with ease. 8. Let that ease circulate until it softens your shoulders. 1. Claim it. I am calm, capable, complete. 4. Step into motion. Let the feeling anchor in action. This, you see, is how imagination becomes routine, how the invisible begins to breathe through the visible. You don't need to perform grand gestures. You simply carry the tone of the wish fulfilled into ordinary moments. Each gesture, each word becomes a continuation of the practice. You make coffee, noticing the sound, the warmth, the scent. Reality feels cooperative. Even the smallest tasks hum with quiet order. You realize that abundance is not an event to chase. It's a state of coherence you can inhabit at will. Neville once said, "The world is yourself pushed out." Now those words make sense. Every person you meet today will mirror some aspect of your dominant state. If you radiate patience, patience returns. If you radiate trust, opportunities unfold. This is not superstition, it's resonance. As you move through the day, you hold that awareness lightly. You no longer force outcomes, you tune states. When tension arises, you remember the current beneath thought. You breathe, shift feeling, and watch the scene adjust itself. The practice that began in darkness becomes guidance in daylight. By afternoon, you've almost forgotten the ritual, but its rhythm continues underneath your tasks. Creation, flow, identity, manifestation. The pattern hums quietly, as reliable as a heartbeat. And you understand now that 3814 was never meant to be repeated mechanically. It was meant to remind you that life unfolds in that same sequence every moment. When evening comes, you catch your reflection in a window. The face looking back seems steadier, more present. You smile, not at the reflection, but at the awareness behind it. This is the awakening, not a single event, but a series of small recognitions that everything external is born from something internal. You think of all the nights ahead, each one another chance to refine the image you carry within. You no longer wait for signs, you become one. You no longer hope for evidence, you create it by feeling, and as you prepare to rest again, you understand that the cycle never ends, it only deepens. The numbers remain the same, their meaning expands with you. 3. Imagine. 8. Allow. 1. Be. 4. Embody. You whisper those words like a quiet mantra, not to summon anything, but to remember everything. Then you let the day exhale, the body soften, and the rhythm begin once more. You have awakened, not from sleep, but from the illusion that creation was ever outside you. The dream continues, only now you know who's dreaming.